La- Uh-oh. Looks like I'm live. Somebody there. Tilt my camera a little bit, they say. All right. Hopefully that works. I wonder if people can hear me. I hope so. Uh, this is this is it's always an experiment. This year we are doing this all by myself. In the past years when we've done it, we had a camera guy here. We had an assistant there running the computer. Matthew bought me a whole setup where I got to run this by myself. So I'm gonna screw this up so bad. But you like my new microphone here? It looks. mm, Everyone says they can hear me, so it must be working. Uh, we'll go with that. Last week, we had to do it from my house because my back was killing me. I feel great today. But tonight, we're going to talk about Colorado, right? And this is called Elk Talk Live. So we hope that everybody has their elk questions related to Colorado. So uh, that's the hope, anyhow. The Colorado deadline. I got some notes here. I want to make sure that I don't miss any of the important details. As you can see right here, these videos are always brought to you by Go Hunt. If you sign up for Insider, use promo code Randy, they'll give you $50 of store credit. Your deadline, April 4th, 2023, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And the unfortunate part about Colorado is we're probably not going to find out about the draw results until late May, sometimes even early June. But since we're talking about elk, here's what you need to know what it's going to cost you. You got to buy the base annual license. The minimum annual license is a small game license, going to cost you about $94. And you got to buy a habitat stamp fee, which is $11.50. And then for every species you apply for, it costs you another $10. So by the time you're all done and you're all into it, it's going to be about $115 to apply for elk. And they don't make you send in the money anymore. They used to make you send it in. Now you get to get dinged for it if you do draw, and $761 if you end up drawing your limited entry elk tag. So a lot of people say, I just go over the counter and I'll just buy a point. Cool. That's a pretty good option. I mean, I've done that many times. So Colorado hosts more non-resident elk hunters than all the other states combined, and here's why. They have 35% of the limited entry tags go to non-residents, and they have over-the-counter seasons for 90 plus units in the western part of the state. The over-the-counter hunts will happen during the archery season, during the second rifle, and the third rifle season. So you take all of that, that is an awful lot of opportunity that Colorado generously gives to non-residents. So if anybody is upset about that, well, I uh, I don't know what to tell you. You can't ask for them to be much more generous than they currently are. Hey, Ray Garcia is back. Ray, we owe you a T-shirt. I'm trying to think of how you would get that to us. We need your email. Somehow put your email in here. Yeah, we owed you a T-shirt from last year. Uh, so let's see. Joseph says, "Do raghorns stay with the cows into October?" Yes, the raghorns will stay there longer than the old bulls. Let's see. Someone says 24-25 Colorado elk hunting season has the best dates for the 7-year pattern. Yes, they do. Do you think this really harsh cold winter will make drawing the highly desired year even harder? It could to some degree, but hard winters like this do not affect elk nearly as much as deer, and certainly not as much as pronghorn. So, yeah, you're looking at the Colorado Hunt Planner, right? Colorado sets their season dates 5 years in 5-year batches. So you can go out and look to see, okay, what are the season dates for 23, 24, 25? I think in 26 is when the next batch of season dates come out. Uh, but yeah, those early seasons in Colorado, the first rifle, the early rifle, 24 and 25, those dates are going to get moved earlier into October. So you're on to one there. Dang, isn't it? That guy, A Brown Citizen, you should be doing this seminar. That's like one of the tricks I always look at. Anthony asks, how do I think the snow levels this year will affect the coming season? We already know that because Colorado Parks and Wildlife issued a statement the other day saying that in the Northwest units, data analysis unit, I think is what they're called, 7 and 11, which is up by Craig and Meeker, deer tags are probably getting cut somewhere around 40%. Mm, That's what they have to do, though. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, dang, I can't believe they're doing that. As a hunter, I'm glad they're doing that when they have to respond to what the winter conditions are. Now, today, Marcus and I did a piece on his Fresh Tracks Weekly. And in doing that, we got into this same topic. And if you look at the map of Colorado, of where they're really cutting deer tags, it's up in the northwest corner. It's not having that much more snow than other parts of Colorado, but its habitat has been highly impacted in that area due to too much impact from feral horses, non-native horses. So if you look at the range of where horses live in Colorado, it's almost going to look like that map that they said these are the areas where we got to cut deer tags significantly. There, Dave, if you look there, Dave just put a link to that article. And it's unfortunate, but you know what? They have to do it. You can't keep giving the same number of tags when deer numbers and pronghorn numbers just went. And talking to their biologist, it's going to be tough this year. So let's see. The 5-year Coos hunter asks, does Colorado only look at your first choice before going on to the next applicant? Yes, that's correct. They look at all the first choices, and then if there's anything left, they'll look at your second choice. So Joseph asks, what's my opinion on wolf reintroduction in Colorado? I've made it pretty obvious. I am never in favor of ballot box biology. Okay. Let the scientists do this. Colorado Parks and Wildlife had studied this many times over the years and said, this is not a good idea on our highly humanized, impacted landscapes. But you're going to get them. So let's see. Troy asked, do I have a preference between rifle season 2 or rifle season 3? I prefer the third rifle season for elk on the over-the-counter units. Most people prefer the second season, not because it's necessarily better hunting, but a lot of the people who come and hunt those second seasons are from the Midwest, and their deer seasons are in November. So they come to Colorado in late October, do the second rifle season, and then they're back home deer hunting. I go after most of them are gone. There's fewer people in the woods in the third rifle season for elk, not just fewer elk hunters, but fewer deer hunters, because Colorado gives a lot more deer tags for their second season than what they give for their third season. So it's going to feel a lot less crowded. And there's a better chance of more snow. And I know that if I'm hunting elk in the snow, my odds go way up. So, Andrew says, how do you think CPW will approach having only limited license for the first and fourth rifle in a lot of these units impacted by winter, but having over-the-counter second and third seasons? That's yet to be seen. They're talking about reducing some of those first and fourth rifle tags. I think that's what they're going to do. And if you look at the report where Dave just put that link in there, you're going to see they're also talking about how it is impacting elk, but not nearly to the degree that it's impacting here. Um, will horses ever be on the menu in the US? I doubt it, but if so, I'd love to eat them. I've got friends who've eaten them in Europe. I do. Uh, Trevin asks, have I ever hunted Game Management Unit 49 in Colorado? I have not. I've not. I've driven by it. It looks like really cool country. It looks like some, well, most of Colorado looks like some really, really tough country. Uh, but I've not been in Unit 49. Um, Eric says, I hear that non-native horses are a delicacy in European countries. I've heard that same thing. Uh, so Joseph says, Randy, thank you for all you do to help the outdoors, from these live chats to all the Fresh Tracks episodes to the podcast, fighting to keep public land accessible for all of us. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. That's what we are here to do. If you came and saw our production office, so we have a conference room over here behind me, and all of our content has to have some of this category: advocacy, conservation, education, information. And then if you look at on the whiteboards, it says why. In other words, why do we show up every day? We are here to promote self-guided hunting, public land hunting, and create advocates for that cause, and to create and advocate for the resources necessary for that. So, what a cool job, right? That's what we get to show up and do every day. So, we are very fortunate and very blessed. And we thank all of you who support us in doing that. Let's see. Dave asks, any thoughts on how the large increase in cow elk tag prices will affect things? That's a good question. This is the first year where we're seeing that big increase. Uh, I think it will cause some people to say, well, all that, I'll just buy a bull tag then. The cow price is pretty much the same. And then one thing to know, Colorado has a CPI adjustment for their license fees. Everybody knows that 2022, 2021, we had really high inflation, right? The Bureau of Labor Statistics tells us, inflation is 15, well, not 15. It is, in some cases, 8 to 10%, depending on the type of thing they're looking at. For fuel, last year it was more than 15%. So Colorado takes all that and they apply a CPI, or a consumer price index adjustment, to their tags. So every year it goes up, it goes up. And the idea of that is to keep their budget kind of tracking with inflation. But to your point, Dave, I don't really know how that's going to impact things. Usually after the first year, we find out though. If you're looking for a place to go and probably fill your elk tag, a Colorado cow elk hunt is pretty hard to beat. Uh, a lot of access to tags, a lot of opportunity, a lot of public land, 23 million acres of Forest Service and BLM, and a lot of elk. So Timothy asks, did you read the new regulation in the Colorado draw regarding getting points and money back if you turn a tag back in? If so, this would allow me to apply in Colorado, then withdraw if I needed. In other words, if I drew in another state. Yeah. I just tell people, go read the regulations, and in the first page, like this year, I think it's page 4 or page 6, it says what's new this year. Uh, and I'd go read that right away. Um, there's always some little tweaks and changes to not just Colorado, but every state in how they do their return tags. I wish every state would adopt Nevada's system of first come, first serve, where they put them up on the website at some random period, and you go on there, and if it's there, you could buy it. Colorado, at least the last 2 or 3 years, with this chaotic system that it's really a mess. I would hope that they have a better way to do that. So let's see. Trevin asks, what are your thoughts on finding good public land to hunt pronghorn on in Colorado, because it's mostly private land? Oh, there's a lot of good public land there to hunt. But understand, in Colorado, you cannot hunt the state trust lands, right? If you look at your map, the state trust lands are these little powder blue pieces. You cannot hunt those in Colorado unless you have permission of the lessee or it's one of the 900,000 acres that Colorado Parks and Wildlife leases. Now, if you go and look, there are some really good places that Colorado Parks and Wildlife leases state trust lands in areas with a lot of pronghorn, especially if you're an archery hunter. So, let's see. Chris asked, in your opinion, what's the best hunt dates for rifle mule deer? I love Colorado's third season dates. You know, in Montana, our biologists tell us that the peak of the mule deer rut here is November 15th. So you get anything, 5 days before that, 5 days after that, man, pretty hard to get much better than that. So those are the days, and if you look at Colorado's third season, it's right in the heart of that. But even the second season, the deer are starting to stage. And here's how it happens in most units in Colorado: the does come first. They come in late October, and they come regardless of the snow. They know we got to get out of here. So they get down in the lower foothill country in late October. The bucks don't just wait up here in the high country and then on November 8th they just show up there. No, the bucks come down, and by about November 1st, the bucks are somewhere in the neighborhood. They're probably a little higher in elevation, but they're somewhere nearby. So I, I wouldn't hesitate to hunt the last part of the second season either. So let's see. Sam, in Colorado, are you required to pick a hunt area with the over-the-counter tag? No. You can hunt any of the 90-ish, whatever it is, plus or minus a few, 90 counter units in the archery season, second rifle, and third rifle. So, holy cow. Here's, folks, Dane Johnson said he grew up in North Home, Minnesota, which is 31 miles south on Highway 71 from where I grew up. Dane, I can't believe that you don't have some incriminating story about my upbringing in Big Falls, Minnesota. But if you do, let's just keep it between friends here, right? Man, uh, and North Home and Big Falls are like two super, super small towns. Big Falls has like 180 people now. North Home, I don't know, 200 maybe. That's funny. Anyhow, Dane says, I'm hoping to someday draw a Minnesota elk tag. Ooh, boy, that'd be a jackpot. They only give away like 20 of them. But for now, I'm going to keep trying in Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. Well, that's your odds in Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado are a whole lot better than they are in Minnesota. So Ray Garcia keeps saying, Randy, what happened to your hand? Sorry to see that. Those of you who've seen the piece, Dave just wrote it down there. But for here, I got food poisoning in Portland from a pepperoni pizza, passed out in my hotel room of all crazy things. But what I've been telling people is it was a shark bite. And I don't know if this will show up on the camera, but I think it looks way more like a shark bite than falling through a glass shower door. So hopefully that you can see the light. Oh, dang it. The light is reflecting on it really heavily. Anyhow, darn, sorry. But anyhow, you can see that great big scar on my arm. Severed 3 tendons. I'm in my 3rd week physical therapy. They say I'm ahead of schedule, that I'm probably going to be able to go on my Alaska spring bear hunt in late May. Woo! So, Cletus says, what is wrong with Washington State when it comes to elk hunting? I've lived in Washington my whole life, 58 years. And for the past 10 years, Washington is the worst state to hunt elk in. Cletus, I hate to tell you this, but you are reporting the same thing all your fellow Washington hunters are. I go over to Seattle, drive down to the Puyallup Sports Show last week of January, first week of February. I do that every year. And the comments, the questions I get from Washington elk hunters are exactly what yours are. I know you got some really crazy stuff going on with your wildlife commission over there right now. Uh, Boy, I'm working on a podcast with Andrew McKeon. We want to talk about some of this crazy stuff that's going on in your part of the world because the way your commission is handling things when they say hunting should not be a necessary tool for a wildlife agency, it's like, whoa, huh, we better wake up here. So, uh, yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you, Cletus, but it's not good. Uh, Ryan asks, I want to draw a muzzleloader tag in a high point unit. Ooh, better have a lot of points then. This year, the opener is on September 9th. Should I save points and apply in 2024 at the later date? No. Go whenever you have the points. You never know when something's going to change. Just go when you are able to go with whatever number of points. Don't mess around. Sean Flynn, how you doing, Sean? I haven't talked to you for a while. You've always been a regular here. As bad as the never-ending winter is going to be on elk winter kill, how do we adjust for this season? Well, you make reference to the Wyoming press release. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has issued the same press release. The thing we do is we lower numbers or lower harvest expectations. That's a short-term solution. The longer-term solution is we focus on habitat improvement. Okay. It doesn't matter what species, where we're at, what we're doing, and there is zero question that the science and the evidence says the better the habitat, the more resilient they are, that any species, the more resilient they are to harsh winters, and the more resilient they are to predation. So, what is habitat improvement? Well, for deer and elk, it's getting rid of invasive weed species. It's letting some controlled fire or, even letting some fires burn and trying to control it. It's having some controlled fire. Maybe it's, okay, there's too many structures around. We can't use fire. Let's use logging. Let's use mechanical treatment. Let's put in water sources. Let's do all the things that make this land as productive as it possibly can be. And I always tell people if you want to increase your draw odds by 40%, make the habitat 40% more productive. That's the long term game we're up against. These cycles of uh, drought or a cycle of a hard winter or whatever, these have been going on for millennia. What hasn't been going on for millennia is human encroachment, human invasive activities degrading habitat to the degree that it has. So, Colorado, right? We got subdivision, we got development, we got residential expansion across winter ranges. We have feral non-native horses out competing native wildlife. We have the same thing hammering the native vegetation that wildlife need. We have invasive plant species. Up in the high country, you got knapweed, you got all the whole collection of native, non-native species that are ruining the summer range. And then we've got things like, oh, let's just use cheatgrass, right? Cheatgrass is ruining tons and tons of winter range. We need to focus as hunters collectively. We need to focus on habitat. And I know some people probably get tired of hearing the term habitat. What does that really mean? Well, I hope I just gave some examples of what we can do for habitat. So, uh, Rich, in Colorado elk, if you draw a bull elk tag and do not harvest an elk, can you buy an over-the-counter elk tag? No, you're allowed. If you go in there, they'll say you're allowed one A tag, and they break it out category A, B, and C, and they have a chart that tells you how many of what you're allowed. But for bull tags, you're allowed one. They fall under the A column. You're allowed one of those. So, let's see. Timothy asked, "Do you think the New Mexico muzzleloader change that no longer allows scopes on muzzleloaders will increase the odds of drawing those tags?" Yes, I do. Tag, the percentages or probabilities have always been really, really low. So by what percentage? I think it's going to go up a lot, like probably double. Uh, so it's going to go from 4% to 8%. Josh says, no, I think Randy dropped the dilly bar and tried to catch it and hit his head on a chair. Well, that definitely could be there. So uh, let's see where else we do here. Uh, Man, a whole bunch of them just went way past me here. Uh, so Trevin answered that question. Pizza attack. Kevin says, I have 12 bonus points for elk in Arizona. What unit would you recommend in Arizona for an early rifle hunt? Whew, Kevin. Uh, that'll come around next February, will be the deadline for that because Arizona already did their elk draw. But for a non resident, you're looking at high 20 points to be in the running for one of those. Yeah, some of them are picked up by the random tag holder, but and you gotta look, they rotate them around their best units. Sometimes they have early rifle, sometimes early muzzleloader, but they rotate them among, let's see, units 1, 27, 23, 9, and 10, I think are the units where they rotate that around. So any of them would be great. Whatever unit they have it in, just yeah, it would be great. But boy, it's going to be really, really tough to draw. Uh, so let's see. Someone's asking if they want to do a party app. Oh, I know who this guy. I think he lives in Wyoming. What does the future hold for the preference point system in Colorado, especially for elk? Um, well, if you look at Colorado, I'm going to use round numbers here. They have 108,000 people who applied for a tag. They had 68,000 that only bought a point. So you add all that together. No, they had 60,000 that only bought a point. You had all the non-residents in the pool, in the elk pool in Colorado. You got 168,000 people. They give away 22,000 tags. That means it's going to take 7 years just to plow through all the people in the current system. Now, there's talk in Colorado, right? They've been holding focus groups about, hey, how do we adjust the amount of over the counter elk hunting? Well, if they do that, the old trick of applying for a limited entry tag or building a point while you're going and hunting over the counter, that's going to get tougher to do. So, uh, Colorado hosts more of us non-resident elk hunters than all the other states. So if they start changing things, it's going to be complicated. Uh, I I hope they don't, but I certainly understand why residents are asking for it. I can't remember. I saw some number. I think it was like 70 some thousand non-resident elk hunters between archery, second rifle, third rifle, and the limited entry tags. That is a ton of non-resident elk hunters. So I get why they're trying to do it, and I think it's going to make the system even less efficient in getting people through the system. You know, preference point systems work if you have a churn rate of every 3 or 4 years. You get a churn rate of 20 years or 30 years to work all the people through the system, especially in some of those really high demand units. It just doesn't work. So let's see. Terry asks, what states allow you to draw a limited entry unit without upfronting the tag cost? Let me see. Nevada, Utah, Arizona, uh, Idaho, but you gotta upfront, some of these you gotta upfront a license cost, which that's a sunk cost. That's gone for good. Uh, Colorado, I think I've covered them. Josh says, Randy, can you do more podcasts with Remy Warren? I really enjoyed the last one. I'd love to. Remy's a great guy, but he is a busy guy, too, like I am. But I'll think about that. I'll figure out how we can get him back in here. And if you Haven't looked. Remy has done a course on a platform that I've done a course. It's a place where you can get Corey Jacobson's University of Elk Hunting. Joan Parklow did a course. Hank Shaw did a course. Jamie Teagan. My Pronghorn course is coming out on Monday. It's a place called Outdoor Class. Remy, we just filmed his second course there. It'll be out later this summer. He's an unbelievable guy. But if you go there, uh, you can save some money at outdoorclass.com by using promo code Randy. They'll give you 20% off. So let's see. Dustin says, my backup hunt plan is to hunt by Pikes Peak. Is it any good hunting down there? Dustin, I've never hunted there. So sorry about that. I wish I could tell you. I'd be making it up. So, but some people would say, well, everyone makes it up. I don't want to make it up. Let's see. What do I think about sharpshooters going to the Estes Park and killing elk as a way of management? I'd rather not do it that way. I would much rather see hunters do it. I have a question. Should you use a cow elk call or a bugle for the second rifle elk season in Colorado? I would not rely on that as a tactic. You're hunting post rut. The bulls are going to be away from the cows for the most part. They're going to be in sanctuary mode, so they're not going to be responding really. That said, there's always a young bull that, for some reason, will decide, yeah, I'm going to bugle today. So, as quick as I say that, someone will say, wait a second, I heard one bugling. So it's very, very unlikely. It's a very low probability tactic. So I wouldn't count on that as my tactic. So Joe says, I've been binge watching a bunch of the Fresh Tracks episodes for pointers in the hopes that I get drawn for Kentucky or Pennsylvania elk. I know they're a long shot, but I know people who got drawn the first time they applied. Joe, I hope you draw. I've never drawn, but this year I'm going to Kentucky with a sweepstakes winner. If you remember last year, we had the Win a Hunt with Randy sweepstakes. The Nature Conservancy and a reclamation mine, or a mine being reclaimed, they get a couple elk permits, and they donated one to the Elk Foundation to use for this Win a Hunt with Randy sweepstakes. So I'm not going to be the hunter, but I'm going to be down in Kentucky with Mike from New York, and hopefully we can get him an elk. I'll report back to how that went. So someone says, Randy, any tips for a hard-charging 36-year-old hunting with a recently retired 65-year-old? Trying to get my pops into elk hunting Colorado. Any tips on pacing for two younger dudes with a not as in shape 65-year-old? That's a tough one. Colorado, where most elk are, you're going to be dealing with elevation. You're going to be dealing with some steeper country. You're going to be dealing with elk getting pushed away from roads and trails, so the distances you got to go might be higher. That's going to be a tougher one. I wish I had an answer. The answer is to be in as good a shape as you possibly can and get there in time to get acclimated. Every year, people show up in Colorado and they aren't acclimated. They come from the coast or they come from 500 feet elevation. They land in, wherever, and then they drive up to 10,000 feet. And the next morning, they're out just giving it the onion. Boy, they're really going. And they get altitude sickness. Some of them die from that. It creates all kinds of problems for your respiratory system, your cardio system. You can put yourself in a life or death situation with altitude sickness. So if this person is 65 and not that good a shape, get them in as good a shape as possible. Get there a couple days, 3 days to acclimate to the elevation, and just try to find some place where you can maybe, find a trail or find a place to go that you can glass over some terrain, and maybe someone will push a bull in there. You never know. So let's see. Chris says, which food poisoning was worse, the 5-alarm chili or the Portland pizza? Asking for my wife. Well, Chris, the outcome, and I don't know if the 5-alarm chili was food poisoning. It was the best chili I've ever eaten. I wouldn't eat it again because it just about did me in. As you know, I ended up losing most of an elk hunt. But with that, the Portland pizza event, I thought I was gonna die. Before that pizza came out of me this way, I thought I was gonna die, and then to pass out and go through a shower door, I would take the New Mexico event over the Portland event all day, every day. So, uh, Rayanne asks, "Do you think they will cut archery elk tags as well in those hard hit winter units they brought up?" I think they probably will. They've already talked about how they've lost quite a few younger elk calves in there. So some of those units are over the counter, so they probably can't do much there. But the first season, the third season, the muzzleloader season, they might cut them down. So Dane says, "My wife is wanting to do a bison hunt, but she's never even started getting points. What are her chances? She is 35 years old." Well, your best chance is Montana, even though the chance is really, really small because we don't use a point system for bison in Montana. Neither does Wyoming, but Wyoming makes you front almost $5,000. So, ouch. Uh, let's see. I just scrolled. This is really hard to do. I scroll past everybody when I'm trying to do this. Timothy says, "How many years do you go back to a unit?" I've went back to the same unit the last 3 years. First year was a ton of bugling, and I connected on a 7x5. Cool. The last 2 years have been different. Seen elk, but no bulls. Uh, I'll keep going back to a unit. When I hunt over the counter, I'm pretty much in the same unit all the time. Uh, and yeah, some years we get them, some years we don't. But if you got 1 out of 3, you're way ahead of the over the counter probabilities. So, uh, Aubrey says, "This is our first time hunting in Colorado. I want to put in for the draw. How?" Go to this YouTube channel. We did a whole video on how the Colorado draw season or draw process works. But just know that your deadline is April 4th. Don't miss that, or you're out of luck. Uh, let's see. Mm. Some of you is the questions or the comments some of you have. If my wife watched this and I answered those, I'd be in so much trouble. Uh, so Jared's. Uh, let's see. Someone says, "God bless Colorado for hosting all those non-residents, especially since they are all winter killing in Wyoming." Yeah, Wyoming and Colorado are having kind of the same winter. Uh, let's see. Heath Bradley. Heath, how you doing? Hey, Randy, I finally harvested my first bull elk, and I want to thank you for all the knowledge and inspiration you provide all of us with. Hey, congratulations. We just, we're blessed to be able to say, here's the mistakes we've made. Don't make the same mistakes. Uh, and it's up to you to go out there and do the hard work, do the planning, do the scouting, find the elk, get the elk. So all the credit goes to you, but thanks for saying that. Someone says, "Anyone use this cow calls that you squeeze? Those would be called a hoochie mama." Uh, they, I know a lot of people who use them, but they're at the point where you can recognize it forever. If you're a human, you know, oh, that was a hoochie mama. So I suspect any elk that's been called in and then said, "Oh, I smell a human." I wonder how that hoochie mama sounds. It's so recognizable. What is that going to do to an elk that comes in? I don't know. Justin must be a CPA. It says, "Randy, why are most accountants and CPAs so good looking?" What you talking about there? Don't ask my wife that. They have great figures. Now that's even funnier. Sure, appreciate all you do. Well, thanks, Justin. I got the impression maybe you're an accountant also. If you are, uh, hope you're having a good tax season. I'm still an accountant at times, but not a very good one. Uh, Jerry says, "Randy, which light is better for hiking in the dark? Red or green?" Sounds like a New Mexico question. Laugh out loud. Yeah, it's no, either works fine. The reason you use red light or green light is humans will see it, but wildlife can't see the red and green light on their spectrum. So if you see someone walking in with white light, that's not the person you want as a hunting partner, right? They may as well go out there with pots and pans and bang on them and run all the elk off. You want a headlamp that has a red or green option. Neither of them will work. So, I plan on Colorado as one of my over-the-counter options if my home state of Nevada doesn't pan out. I know Colorado is going to change their over-the-counter program soon, but in the meantime, have I ever hunted Unit 60? I have not. Uh, so let's see. The Peaks headlamp is where it's at. Yeah, if you're getting a Peaks headlamp, use promo code Randy and you'll save some money out at peaks.com. We try to make everybody give you a promo code. I don't believe in paying full retail. For me, full retail is not the way to get ahead. So that's why I always have promo code Randy for something. So Eric asks, any info on the Stellway Zone in Idaho, terrain, elk population? I've not hunted it. I've driven by there. It's steep. I mean, there's a reason I don't apply there at my age. It's really steep. Uh, but if you go there, the elk population is stable. It's not what it once was, but it's stable, or at least that's what their data says. So good luck if you go. I hope you get them. Let's see. RB asks, would it help if Colorado required hunters to apply for a hunt in order to get a bonus point? It might. It might clean out some of those top point points. That's one of the things I've kind of thrown out there before is that if we want to get rid of this point creep thing, well, if you get a tag, it should burn your points. I don't care how you get it, right? You get it as an auction, a raffle, a second choice, uh, your first choice, a landowner tag. There's a lot of ways that you can start knocking down that point creep thing. Maybe force some people to apply. Maybe that would work. I don't really know. Uh, let's see. I've never hunted either of these areas, Unit 28 and 37, but Jacob asked, any tips for a first-time elk hunter in our early 50s on an over-the-counter third rifle hunt? My wife and I are considering Unit 28 and 37. I've never hunted those. What I always say with third rifle hunts, be in shape because you are going to be hunting post-rut or late season elk, and they're going to be in sanctuary mode. In fact, third season, now that they moved the dates, these are late season elk. I've done a whole chapter, not a whole chapter, a whole course on this out at Outdoor Class. But the quick and dirty of those 15 chapters out there on that course is you're going to have to do some hiking. You're going to have to go to the sanctuary areas. Sanctuaries can be by terrain and topography. Like, oh, I don't want to shoot one down there. I don't want to climb up there. That creates sanctuary. Property boundaries create sanctuaries. Boundaries between states create sanctuaries. Boundaries between closed areas and open areas create sanctuaries. There's a lot of things that create sanctuaries. You're going to find those out somewhere where the hunting pressure has been less. And usually it's less because hunters say, I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to mess with that private boundary, or I don't want to haul one out of that canyon, or I don't want to have to climb way up that hill. It's a glassing game. Late season elk hunting, have the best binoculars you possibly can and spend more time glassing and less time hiking. Let's see. Josh says, Randy, why don't you bone out elk when you're breaking them down? It depends on. Sometimes I do. Like last year in Wyoming, we were so far back, we let them hang overnight and then we boned them out. I always want the meat to firm up on the bone before I bone it out. Unless it's super, super hot out, then sometimes I will bone them out. But a lot of times, I just, and if you think about a boned out elk, you're carrying a little bit of extra pounds when you carry the bone out, but it stays way firmer and way more solid when you get it in your pack. It cinches it down and it stays there. Sometimes with just a big mound of meat, it tries to drop down in your pack, and pretty soon it's not staying where you want. But I prefer to get it home in a clean spot and then I want to do all my boning out. So, uh, so have I hunted Texas? I have not, Ray. Um, so, Mr. Bo, it says, Randy, it looks like we're both on the injury list. What'd you do, man? Oh, tore your rotator cuff? Oh, man. Sorry to hear that. Surgery next week. I got a bum labrum in both elbows, and that's not nearly as bad as a rotator cuff. And every time the orthopedic guy, he's like, "Yeah, I could fix that, but you're going to be laid up for 6 months." I don't have 6 months to be laid up. So as it is, I walk around with my shoulders hurting a lot. But anyhow, let's see. John has another question. Which one of your knives is your favorite? The EBS, which is the exchange blade system, or the DTS, the dual tool system? Thanks for both. I've used them both and they both feel and work great. I agree. It depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm going way back in the backcountry, I'll bring the EBS. If it's, not that far back, I'll bring the DTS. And if I got a llama, I'll bring them both. But if you want to save money on those Gerber knives that were built, they're the only knives I know of that were built just for elk hunting. Go to gerbergear.com and you can buy them there. And when you check out, if you use promo code Randy, they'll give you a big discount. Um, let's see. Skylar asks, how would you feel about giving a percentage of first random draws or even an extra preference to hunters that actually have a permanent address in the unit they are applying for? I'm hunting in Oregon. Hmm, never thought about that. My first blush would be, I don't know if I'd probably not want that, just because then you say, okay, we give preference to residents within a state, and that's based on the idea that the North American model is a state-based system. So then you start crunching it down. It's like, oh, let's do it by county. No, let's do it by, you know, you got to live in the unit. Well, the next person is going to say, no, you got to live within 3 miles of where this is. It's like, wow, I think it would get pretty far out of hand. But maybe it'd work. I've never really thought about it. Uh, so someone asked best grouse unit in Colorado. I don't know. I'm waiting for some Colorado guy to tell me that. Scott asks, how many sheep points do I have in Arizona? I've been trying to give them away every year, but they never take them. I've got 20, 22, 23, no, 23 or 24. So, yeah, I got more than I want. I got the same in Nevada. I've got so many. I got max sheep points here in Montana. I've just determined, you know what? Odds are I'm probably never gonna draw a sheep tag. That's how it goes. When I did the math the other day. I was counting up all the sheep applications that I've done and that Matthew has done. Between us, we've done, I think we were just under 260 sheep applications where we've applied across all the states. We've never drawn a sheep tag. So we're applying for units where our odds are, as a non-resident, 0.4%, 0.8%, whatever it might be. And you hope that maybe after 300 applications, maybe that'll be our chance. I don't know. So Mr. Bull says he's, in addition to a rotator cuff, you got a torn labrum. Man, you're gonna you're in tough shape. Mike says, have I ever hunted Game Management Unit 11 in Colorado? I have not. Uh, let's see. Scott says my dad has 15 Colorado points. Thought on best unit to put in for? Yeah, this is the bad news about having 15 points in Colorado, unless you're a resident. But if you're a non-resident, you're not going to get a unit with 15 points that's much better than a unit with 5 points. I hate to say that because I know that your dad's been applying for all these and doing this, and then it's like, what? I could have went 3 times in a 5-point unit that's just as good. Yeah, you could have. Sorry about that. Uh, but as far as units, if you have Go Hunt, you can do all that searching with filtering 2.0. If you don't have Go Hunt, you can go out to the Colorado regulations or the Colorado website, and they have it's called Big Game and it's called Hunting Statistics. And you click on elk, and it'll tell you which units are the hardest to draw and at what point level you could have drawn. So with that, it's uh, I don't know, probably the sheets are it's like 900 pages, but it would all be in there. Cameron says, "Hey Randy, what happened to the Fresh Tracks Plus exclusive hour? We did it, and then we jumped over here. Uh, we uh, we did it for 45 minutes, and then people ran out of questions, and I was just standing there scratching my head. So we came over here at 6:45. So uh, sorry if you didn't catch us there. We did it." Josh says, "Can you take me hunting with you?" I don't have time to do that, but you might win a hunt if you hang around when the Elk Foundation. Every year we do this win a hunt with Randy thing. Uh, Usually it comes out in September or October, and it's a ton of fun. We've had some great winners who've won that, and we've done 5 of them. And this is the part I'm most proud of is the net amount that we have raised in that process because we pay for everything when you're out there. We do, I mean, you don't have to pay for anything. We get all the sponsor gear, the whole work. Uh, the net to RMEF, they told me after this year's was $990,000 over those 5 months. I was hoping we'd break the million, but I know we're going to get over them. We're going to get over that hump this year. So, uh, so Dane says my wife and I are hopefully hunting cow elk for the first time in the Bighorns of Wyoming, October 1st. And quick tips, yeah, get there and scout in advance. Look for food. Cow elk are always looking for the best food. You're going to be hunting a food pattern. Reed asked, "Do you think Montana will make any changes to the preference point system for the big game combos?" No. Legislature is going to be winding up here pretty soon, and only the legislature can change that, and they don't have any appetite for changing that. So I don't think it's going to happen. uh, Someone asked, a Brown citizen says, if you get a camp map of all the outfitters, do you hunt near their areas or do I avoid their areas? Find the fresh burns and the private land borders near them. If I see that there's an outfitter camp, I can tell by looking at my Go Hunt maps. Usually, you can see. I avoid it. You know, they got their place. I don't want to drop in on them. I don't. There's lots of space. I'm going to go hunt somewhere else. um, so, do I hunt fresh burns? Yes. Do I hunt borders near public and private? Yes. Uh, if you ever hunt Unit 78, you got to get to the burger joint at the Sage. Best burger I've ever eaten, hands down. Okay. Never been to Unit. I've never hunted Unit 78, but let's see. South Bay Gladiator. There's a bunch of links in here that Dave Pekla has provided to answer your question. It says, "Have you heard how bad the winter kill in Colorado will be this year?" Yes, it's going to be bad. We posted a link to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and it'll tell you, you know, especially for deer and pronghorn, it's really tough. Let's see. Gary Price says, "I picked up a copy of Elk of North America Ecology and Management." Oh, I don't know how you found that, but they're hard to find. That's a that's like that. What's that TV show, Pickers or whatever? You must have found one at a garage sale or something. Trevin asks, "Have I hunted units 371 and 28?" I have not. Mischievous Gaming. I just want to let you know that your Fresh Tracks TV series helped me get my once in a lifetime elk in North Dakota. So thank you. Ha! Thanks for saying that. I think if I remember right, last year I thought you asked a question on that, and we are trying to figure out how do we get a hold of you. Glad the information helped. Thanks for letting us know. That's part of why we've done outdoor class is we want to give that information, get more of it out there in like the deepest dive possible, and we try to cover whatever we can here. But I we don't have enough time to answer all the questions here, but I'm glad it helped. So congratulations. Sam asks, "What's your opinion on Utah's new lion law?" I don't even. I've heard about it, but I haven't read into it. I haven't jumped into it. I don't really know. So I don't like to have an opinion on something I'm not pretty familiar. So Sean says, "Just watched the Alaska Bear pivot point video before I jumped on here. Reminded me of Tyler pushing you up the hill in the woods uh, on an elk hunt. How is Tyler? Tyler's doing great. He's chasing mountain lions. That's in the wintertime, you just know Tyler's chasing mountain lions. He was one of my former camper guys. Good dude. Uh, so, do you know if the New Mexico results will be out before the Wyoming modification deadline? They always have been. I'm hoping that's the case. Fingers crossed. Would you anticipate more significant point jumps in Colorado this year with folks burning points with changes of over the counter on the horizon? Yes, I would. I don't know how significant it'll be this year, but whatever year Colorado announces that, I think it'll be really significant. And then there's also the fact that there's going to be some tag cuts in a lot of units. So fewer tags with the same amount of people, that's also going to result in some point creep. So Adam says, "Hey Randy, how do you like the new Leupold range finding binocular? Do you recommend them? I heard they will retail for purchase pretty soon." They sent me some, and because of this bum hook I got here, it I'm not supposed to lift anything real heavy. I'm not supposed to bend this wrist. So I got them just a couple weeks ago, and when I looked through them, they're great. But you got to get out there in the woods, right? And be using them in those conditions. I think they'll be great. They put a ton of effort into them, but not sure. I'm sure they'll be great. But what I'm saying, I'm not sure what my review would be because I haven't done it yet. So anyhow, alrighty then says, when will you come to the Apache Reservation in Arizona for your long overdue trophy bowl? Man, if that's an invite, yeah, I'll be there. But I know what it costs, and my wife, she'd be mad at me. But you guys have unbelievable elk. Uh, Someone asked, "What's the best elk unit I've hunted in?" Yes, I, I've been lucky. I've hunted a lot of really good units, and I think some of the best hunts I've had have been in units that weren't known as what we call glory units. So, uh, yeah, it's the list is too long. With the massive snows in the California Sierras, uh, what was the question? Will that affect the deer population next year? Hopefully not, because those deer migrate. But the ones that got caught or trapped, yeah, that there could be some impact there. What's my thought on Utah spike only tags? If I was a non-resident, I wouldn't bother with it. That's my thought on it. They claim it will produce better bulls, but from what I'm seeing, it's only dwindling down the bull numbers and the trophy class. It usually won't dwindle the age class, but it'll definitely impact the numbers of bulls because they're doing it by trying to not recruit as many bulls into the population. They want to save that habitat for cows so they have a more robust herd. Uh, let's see. When using a fixed blade knife, what sharpener do you recommend? There's all kinds of them. Yeah, I use when I'm out in the hills. I use a little pull through sharpener. It's just lighter and easier. Uh, but there's a ton of them out there. I don't have a preference on any of them. I got an old whetstone that I use a lot of times. Brett says, I just got my daughter to sleep and now it's workout time. This Flatlander has to get in mountain shape this fall. Have a great evening. Well, Brett, good luck. I hope you get in shape and I hope you have a great hunting season ahead. Truck Boss says, Randy, you ever hunt pronghorn in the 700 districts of Montana? Yes, I did, but it's been quite a while. I think the last time I did was 2006, something like that. Uh, Eric says, "Hey, Randy, sorry I'm late to the show. I was cooking elk steak and potatoes." Hey, if you're cooking elk steak, you can be as late as you want to be. Uh, out of all the states that you put in for, which draw system do you like the best? It's a toss up between Wyoming, Nevada, and Arizona. Yeah, I like Wyoming because you can just buy points and build points if you want. I like that they give 25% of the tags just randomly, not all on a point system. Nevada, I like it because they give you 5 choices. Arizona, I like it because they give you 2 choices. So those are the 3 I like the best. Was I able to beat the odds and get a non-resident Idaho over-the-counter elk tag this year? Annie, as crazy as it sounds, I was. The first year ever, I got a number lower than 14,000. And when I got there, there were 3 tags left. I got an archery tag. Now look at this. It's like, so there's a chance I might turn that tag back in and some other non-resident will get a chance to buy it. Uh, but we'll see. Depends on what my calendar ends up looking like. But I don't need too many elk tags. Did I just say that? Dan asks, will 1.5 preference points draw a non-resident general elk tag in Montana this year? Not in the first draw, but in what they call the reissue draw. If you tuned in last week, or if you go to the Montana draw schedule that we put, or draw video we put out here, a lot of non-residents say, if I don't get my limited entry tag, I want out of here. Give me my 80% refund and reissue my tag to some other non-residents. So you might draw in the reissue draw, but you will not draw in the preference point draw. So let's see. Dad says, Randy, I know you say that you like the bear hunt. Got any good black bear hunting tips for the high snowpack here in Montana? Yeah, plan on going later because it is going to be, with this snow is not leaving these mountains for a long time. So let's see. Dan asks, we're applying as a party to get 1.5 points. I got 2 buddies. A buddy has 1. Well, you could draw with 2. Your odds are like 85% drawing with 2 points, but your buddy is going to bring you down. Next year, you guys will draw. Let's see. Chris says, what's your best tip for hunting elk in grizzly country? Be bear aware. And by that, what I mean is know the habits of these bears. The first step of not having an encounter is avoiding the bears. And when you can avoid the bears, you could still have bad luck, right? Okay. We know that at certain times of September, they're up higher, or they might be down in the last huckleberries on a north slope or whatever. There's things you can learn about, and there's data out there. Okay, here's where the highest concentration of bears are. I just don't hunt those spots. Doesn't mean there aren't a few bears in other places, but I'm going to avoid the highest concentrations. So that's the first thing I do. And, I could still have that chance encounter that there's other bears around, but the densities are low. I try my best, if at all possible, to you have to think about, am I going to have an encounter in camp, or am I going to have an encounter on the field? So I don't want one in camp. That's avoidable in most instances. That's keeping a really clean camp. So I'm going to avoid bears that way. If I shoot an elk, I'm going to process it and I'm going to go hang it 200 yards away from the carcass in some open place where I can glass that from a distance, so that if a bear came on those quarters that are hanging, I would see they'd been messed with. So there's a bunch of things that you do. The Forest Service has really, really good information about how you can find ways to at least reduce the likelihood of an encounter with a grizzly. So someone asked, when picking a unit, would hunter density push you away from a unit that hits all your other requirements? It might. It depends on the state. But yeah, there's sometimes I go to units that checks every box. But you know what? it's really close to this city or this town, and it just gets hammered. I might go someplace else. Uh, Chris asked, "Do you have to reapply for the second draw if unsuccessful in the first?" Yes. Can you change your choices? I remember in Colorado, I don't. Someone told me they changed that. You never used to be able to change your choices in Colorado. I shouldn't say. Go read the regulations because someone told me that you can. I've always thought you couldn't. So I'm going to go with the safe answer that you can. And then someone will say, "Wait, no, you sure can." Uh, so Mike asks, "Hey Randy, I have a question. Do you have any elk hunting outfitters that you recommend in Colorado?" Yes. I'm gonna. I don't know if I should give his phone number. No, I'm not. Adam Gall, Timber to Table. I think it's called Timber to Table Outfitters over by Paonia and Hotchkiss. Great guy. Uh, I'd recommend him. Sent a lot of people to him. Everyone has said it was a great hunt. At what point do you walk away from over the counter unit and start over? I've been in to a Colorado unit for 10 years and I've only had one harvest and it wasn't even my bowl. I might start looking somewhere else if I'm having that tough a luck for sure. Uh, I'd probably give it 3 years for at the most before I'd start looking somewhere else. Hey, Randy, what's your thoughts on folks speaking about specific game management units, especially in a public setting? Do you think it contributes at all to overcrowding? I think it contributes to people moving around. That's why when people ask questions here, I usually will say no. If I've not hunted it, I'll say I've not hunted it. But if they ask something really specific, I don't get into that. We never say what unit we're in our content, whether it's in video, on podcasts, or anything. People find out because there's ways you can find out where we do tags or where we're hunting or whatever. Uh, I have a really big hunting forum, hunttalk.com. And people will go in there and the headline will say, "What do you think about Unit 302?" And a whole bunch of people will chime in. I'm like, all right, if you're a Googler, all you do is type in Google, Google it, elk hunting Unit 302, blah, blah, blah. Phew. So does it contribute? Yeah. But if people are using that as their scouting tool, that's crazy. That's like so foolish to do that because everybody else has probably done the same Google search, and you're going to show up there, and you're going to have to bring your own rock to stand on. So I think it does affect some people. They just like, oh, I'm going to go there then. Me, that's like the last reason I would go to some place is because somebody mentioned it online or on a forum or on a video or something. Uh, I want to do my own scouting. I want to go there for my own reasons and all that. So, but to your question, do I think it contributes to people leaving this unit and the next year they hunt that unit because someone said, "Oh, so and so shot a big elk in unit whatever." Yeah, if that happens, guess what? I'm over here hunting some of these other units where everybody just left. So there's a way that you can kind of plan, or not necessarily plan around that, but not let it be that impactful to your hunt. uh, Permafrost said you can change your choices in Colorado. Okay, there we go. And Eric also said you can now change and edit till the drive deadline. Cool. Let's see. I think when are the majority of elk calves born, and what do you think the overall mortality rate is? The mortality rate depends on oodles of things, but most of them are born from the last couple days of May to the 10th of June. So, but their mortality is from so many things. And it depends on, do you measure mortality in the first 10 days? Do you measure it over a longer period or a longer period? Because then the percentages of each source of mortality changes. So Strider Wolf says, if you had to compare hunting to your CPA job, what parts of both are the hardest and alike and the most rewarding? Hmm. I think there's some parallels in some of them. The thing I get the most pleasure out of in the CPA world was helping clients. And I think that carries forward here where I get the most pleasure out of everything we do by helping other people. I've had my share of hunts. If I never get another hunt, you know what? I probably had more than my share. So if I can take someone and they shoot their first elk, you see, I get pretty excited. Uh, I do these live events because I want to help. We do videos about how state draw systems work because I've always been for 35 years as a CPA. I was educating, I was helping, I was trying to solve people's problems. So that's the same. What's the hardest? The hardest part of the CPA world was just the work compression. You know, it all happens by April 15th. You're just exhausted. Here, the hardest part is just making sure that you're trying to tell stories that include conservation, access, habitat, because we can get lazy and fall in a rut. Everyone likes to see an animal get taken on camera, and that's simple and easy. But the hard part is to tell a true story about it, about hunting. So, what's the most rewarding part? Um, the most rewarding part about the CPA world was when you saw clients succeed. The most rewarding part of this is when you know that you had a little role in helping raise money for conservation, or you helped on an access project, or you were able to influence a little bit in some way, some legislation. You were able to help somebody get their first bowl or their first deal or whatever. Uh, those are the rewards for this job. So, let's see. Truck boss asks, any hunts planned with Mr. Bo this year? We're working on that, hopefully. Uh, and thanks for the kind comments on Fresh Tracks Plus. Glad you like it. And Bo's doing great. Talked to him a couple weeks ago. I need to talk to him again. Um, so Annie says the earliest elk calf I have on a trail camera, May 22nd. Yeah, that'd be pretty early. I mean, it definitely could happen if she got pregnant or she had a shorter gestation period for some reason. Uh, but I that would be really early. So let's see. Yeah, recommend an outfitter for a Wyoming wilderness elk hunt. You know, I don't know any, Cody. That's a state where I really don't have much in the way of outfitters. Um, let's see. Eric says, I thought the hardest part of your current job would be day 90 sleeping in a tent on the ground. Yeah, you know what, Eric? Those are the hard days. But here's what I got to keep in mind. I am blessed to live in the greatest country in the world. I'm blessed that I grew up in a little logging town, divorced parents in a trailer house, and my financial life with 35 years of a CPA allows me to do this. And how many people would give anything to be spending that 90th day in the cold on a mountain in Montana? So, yeah, it gets to be a grind, but I just think about how lucky I am and how blessed I am, and it makes all that quote unquote hard part go away. Uh, but anyhow, Sam says, Randy, your video on public land transfer inspired me to talk to everyone I can. Any updates on the states that have sued the federal government to turn over the national forest? Yeah, they got their butts handed to them. Now, in the next couple weeks, and this is really fitting for Colorado, you're going to hear me talking about some ideas that I think would help Colorado possibly flip the script, if you want to call it that, or increase access, hunting access, recreation access by changing their state land laws. In Montana, prior to 1993, we were identical with the same rules Colorado has that you couldn't hunt, fish, camp, hike any of these lands unless you had an arrangement with the lessee. We got that law changed in Montana. And in the result, I think Montana, we have like 5 million acres of state trust land that we now got to hunt. Yeah, we got to buy a $10 stamp to go do it. What if that 2.8 million acres of Colorado state trust land. What if all of it was available to you instead of just the 900,000 acres that Parks and Wildlife leases? Hmm? Another 1.8, 1.9 million acres? Now we're talking serious, serious increases in access. So I'm going to talk about that in a podcast here coming up in about, I think it'll probably get released in about 5 or 6 weeks, but we're going to record it here pretty soon. So, uh, Sam, appreciate that you liked those videos. They were a lot of work. There are 16 videos in that whole series, but I think it made a big difference. It brought a lot of awareness to the topic. Uh, so it is 8 o'clock, folks. Um, I haven't eaten yet today. I haven't been home today, so I'm gonna have to bail. This is brought to you by Go Hunt. If you're planning to apply and you need a lot of information, Go Hunt has everything beyond that. It has maps on there, maps on here. It's got all kinds of stuff. Use promo code Randy when you sign up. Save 50 or get $50 of credit in their gift shop. They're the ones who ask us to do these. So thanks to them for making it possible. Thanks for all of you. We appreciate every one of you. If it wasn't for all of you, we would still be trying to make a difference for conservation and for access and for everything else. But because of all of you, we're able to. So, you all have a great evening. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.